Alison, welcome to the show.
Hello.
I know, wicked. Thank you for making time. Come down.
Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Because I've known you a long time. I've known you ages. Good few years now, isn't it? Must be.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't even know. A long time.
A little while.
Yeah.
A little while. So I'm glad that you're coming in. You're happy to talk about your kind of experience and, a bit about your recovery. Well, because you've got quite a bit of time, I think.
Got a little bit of time. Yeah.
Go on.
17 years.
Wow. That takes some doing, right?
One day at a time. It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. And what was it like? What inspired you to come in? Was it things?
Well, what I ended up with was no kids, no husband, no house, no job, no car, and I think I had about half an ounce of tobacco in my pocket.
Was that what it led you to?
That's how it worked. My last day.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, my husband was like, "You've got to go."
Shit.
Everything went bankrupt.
Oh man.
Just like absolutely everything.
And was that like, how did it get to that point? I mean, because did it start off with just partying at the
100%.
weekends and a bit
of course
raving?
It did. I was I was the girl that liked to go out and enjoy herself. And I think I had my kids fairly young. And then when they grew up a bit, I dabbled a little bit before I had my kids, but, harmlessly, really.
Weekend stuff, kind
of. Yeah.
Like most adults do.
Yeah. Before I had my kids, then I had my kids. And then when they got to a certain age, I was like, oh, maybe I can go out a bit more now, And, I think just ended up in Brighton one night and someone said to me, I'll try some of this. And I was like, oh, I'm not snorting that up my nose.
Yeah.
I'll put a bit on my gum. Really frightened.
Yeah.
I was really frightened of drugs, actually.
Right. Oh, so really you were quite not.
I was drinking alcoholically.
More of a drinker.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
I was drinking alcoholically.
Yeah.
And then, in the end, by various steps as it goes.
What was it, Coke or?
Coke.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, really Coke. And anything I could really get my hands on, if I could get a little bit of Valium or, like anything that come along my way. But the only thing that really came my way was cocaine.
Because I heard a lot of people tell me if they enjoyed their drink, that when they discovered Coke, it meant they could drink more and
100%,
longer and be, not kind of...
Yeah, it's great. The basics of it is alcoholism, without a doubt. But I think it's all, for me, it's all, I'm addicted to everything.
Everything.
I still am, and I quite like some of them.
Yeah.
I call myself a collector. I think that's a bit nicer than an addict. I'm a collector of things and, people who know me that I collect. And, once I start a collection, it's...
Yeah. Did you get obsessive about
it? Oh, 100%. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100% obsessed.
I love how you identify that in your own personality and you live with it. Well,
it's like, asking for these defects of character to be removed. I like a couple of them. Do you know what I mean? That sort of feistiness about me or, I don't always want to be... I certainly didn't go into recovery to be anyone's whipping post.
Yeah.
So I've still got that edge.
Yeah.
I like to have an edge. Who doesn't like to have
I
an
like
edge?
that.
But so, there's been we call them the years.
Yeah.
So there's been the Slimming World year, where I went to one Slimming World meeting, lost £0.5 pound in the first week, and 3 months later I had 3 franchises. That's just typical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then another time I've asked John if I can have 4 chickens. He buys me 4 chickens. 3 months later I've got 75 chickens. You can see where this is going. So there's been the year of the knitting, the year of the sewing. That went on for 4 years. I did a diploma, passed.
Wow.
I've never done anything. I haven't got any pieces of paper. That's my only piece of paper. So I did textiles and I did that. And then I had a year of the fruit tree where we moved into a house with a big garden. I remember John being on the driveway one day and out the front and I was out the back and he called through the garage. He said, Alison, there's another fruit tree at the front door for you. It's just like, oh, okay, I'll come and get it.
God.
It's just like, I love to collect.
So, I suppose back then, so when you tried this bit of Coke and you were a bit scared, how did you feel,
I just felt like it felt like I always should have felt.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Almost felt like you were coming home. Like this is me.
Yeah. Like, oh, this is how I should be.
Yeah.
This is the real me. That's how it sort of felt, you know.
Yeah.
I remember it. I remember thinking, this is how Alison's meant to be. And then I was like, give me that straw.
Yeah.
You know, like let's do this. And you know,
Probably all right
probably
at
didn't
first.
see it again for 6 weeks. You know, maybe 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Then, and you know how it goes, you know, little by little. Next thing, you know, really, you know, almost in the blink of an eye, I'm waking up, or I'm coming round in the morning and thinking I can't take the kids to school without some cocaine in me.
Yeah.
You know, because I was drinking till 5 o'clock this morning, so I've got to get my head together and start the day. You know, and that was...
Was it frightening at the time for you, or did you feel, were you managing it?
It was just terrifying. No, I really wasn't. It was,
Yeah.
you know, every day tomorrow was going to be the day.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Really?
you know,
So you were doing it against your will almost.
Always
Wow.
against. I never wanted to be doing it. It was in between that place between wanting to live and wanting to die.
Oh, God.
You know, really.
Yeah. It's hard to picture that because you're so calm and collected and together now. It's hard to picture.
I'm really not. I'm just acting like it.
Yeah, well, it's a good
But
acting.
it is, you know, it's when you're using, you wish you weren't using. When you're not using, you wish you were using. When you're alive, you think, I wish I was dead, but you don't quite want to die because that's very final. So it's like, you know, and then what happened was when I went to the first 12-step meeting and there was nowhere else left for me to go. So I thought I'd better give this a try. And I went to a meeting and I heard some stuff in the meeting. And what I came out with was, this almost certainly isn't going to work for me. In fact, it's 99.9% certainly will not work for me because, you know, I'm so different. And, I'm not going to be able to do it because I never manage anything because I'm such a, you know, sort of let down. And
is this what you were telling yourself?
yeah, but what if it did?
Yeah.
But what if it did work? What if I could do it? I know I can't, right?
Yeah.
But what if it did? So it just gave me that hope where the door just opened that much, and it was just like,
wow,
maybe, just maybe, and that was what I'd gone from hopeless,
to having
to
a little
thinking,
bit of.
just maybe.
Were the people you met in the rooms? Did you see people and think, well, if they've done it, if she's done it, I could do it.
Yeah, I mean, the fellowship that I went to, I don't know if
You
we're
can
allowed
say
to.
anything.
Yeah, so CA.
Yeah.
In Brighton at the time was very young, very small, very young fellowship.
Yeah.
I don't mean so much young in people, although it was young in people,
was
but I
new.
mean it was new around. There was a guy from America that had only brought it over about 8 years previously.
Right,
So there was a few people that had spent time with him and were carrying the message, and it was really powerful. And so when I went in, someone was doing what you call the chair.
Yeah.
And it was this guy, and he had a really thick South London accent. He was massive, covered in tattoos and piercings, and I was like, oh, here we go, proper junkie, you know, not like me.
Yeah. I'm from Sussex.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And he was talking about things like, you know, all the goings on the landings, and he was talking about pins, and I was thinking, I don't know what you're talking about. This is like a different land. I certainly didn't know he meant prison.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking, what are you doing on the landing? Like, go downstairs, make a cup of tea. Very naive, you know, and so I didn't. What he was talking about, heroin and you know, stuff like that, I was like, this isn't me.
Yeah, I do coke. I don't do.
But
heroin.
then he started talking about restless, irritable, and discontented, and I was sat at the back crying my eyes out, you know, full of self-pity and shame and guilt. And I did that for about 6 months, every meeting. Just cried, self-pity, shame and guilt, like absolutely covered in it. Hadn't seen the kids, you know, wasn't allowed to, and rightly so. When he talked about those things, my ears pricked up, and I was like, that's me.
Yeah.
Because I remember being in the Dominican Republic once, in the Caribbean, with the talcum powder beaches, and lying on a, you know, one of those beds.
Sun lounger.
Lying on a lovely sun lounger, with the sea in front of me, and my lovely husband, who's my knight in shining armour. You know, I adore my husband. I know you know that.
So do I.
Yeah,
Johnny's lovely, isn't he?
He's an incredible person. And he's there and he's playing with our little girls in the surf, you know. And I've got, by the way, this is about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, I've got a rum and coke in my hand. So I'm not going without. This isn't me going without. And I remember sitting there looking at them and thinking, is this it? Because if it is, it's shit.
Yeah.
This is like, there must be more. There must be more than this.
What
so
to
when
the family?
My life.
Yeah.
You know, so when this guy said restless, irritable and discontented, I thought about that.
Yeah, and you thought, oh God,
I thought,
that explains that feeling I had.
You know, I spent a whole year looking forward to this holiday, and then I'm there, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is rubbish. It just doesn't meet my expectations.
Yeah.
But what more could I have?
Yeah.
There's nothing more.
No, you got family, your husband, your kids,
my drink.
a drink.
Yeah.
And
what more do I want? But I didn't know the answers, and the answers, you know, obviously were to live a more spiritual life, you know, and to be more grateful.
Yeah.
I had no gratitude.
And have humility, isn't it?
No humility. You know, I deserved that holiday. You know, I'd worked hard for that holiday, and you know, and the other thing as well, you know, just mentioning John playing with the kids. You know, it was very much like, well, you know, you know, you're at work, I'm raising the kids. This is a holiday. You know, this is
you deal with them.
You deal with them
I'm
now.
having a drink.
Yeah, this is my sort of rest time. But yeah, so the selfishness is all wrapped up.
Wow.
It's all wrapped up in the same sort of parcel. So yeah.
Huh. And so, so it sounds like almost you were getting a bit, disillusioned with the lifestyle and you know, drinking. And when you finally heard that message in a meeting, you did it kind of,
yeah, well, you know
true.
the song, you know, when the drugs don't work.
Yeah.
You know, and that was where it got to. You know, just weren't working anymore. Nothing was enough.
Yeah,
just
and even when you got it, probably was just unsatisfying.
Well, like I'm saying, when you know, the best thing about it is buying it. We all know that. You know, once the deal is on, you're like, that's the best bit, and then probably the worst bit is the bit just after you've done it. You're like, well, that wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be, and they're always ringing you up, aren't they, as well, and saying, I've got a really nice bit in. And you think, maybe I'll stop tomorrow.
This chestnut,
Do you know what I mean? And it's exactly the same stuff, but you fall for it because you're addicted to it. And
God.
Yeah.
What a miserable way
It was
to live.
Really miserable. It was really miserable. I had these three beautiful daughters. I had you know, it talks about it in the book. I had everything to live for.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do my part. So I was not able to function like a normal human being. Yeah. So.
Wow. So when you came in, did you like get a sponsor straight away, or did you kind of?
Yeah, pretty much. I pretty much did. I had a relapse at about 10 weeks. I went missing for a day and a night. But other than that, I asked this lady to sponsor me because we were in morning meetings together, and she had two daughters, either side of the age of my youngest daughter, because I had a daughter that had 10 years after the first, 12 years after the first two. And a friend of mine said to me, ask her to be your sponsor. She's got kids the same age as you, all preschool. She was just incredible. So I didn't really know her when I asked her, but I just thought, well, we've got these kids the same sort of age, and with relationships are sort of similar-ish going on.
You're watching The Gratitude Show. Hold up a minute. Hope you're enjoying this video with Alison as much as I enjoyed making it. Remember to like and subscribe. Back to the video.
Yeah, and she was just really gentle with me, and she just we did all of the steps with the three kids climbing over our shoulders.
Wow.
You know, we never had these 2-hour meetings where we had space and time. You know, because I got the kids back quite quick because my husband had to work, and so we just we did everything with these children, and it was just wonderful because what she did was she showed me. She didn't tell me.
Okay.
You know, she just showed me, and I was like watching her with her kids going, I really want to be like that with my kids. I really want to be like that with my kids, and I am. Yeah. So it's nice that I've been able to try and be there for her.
Yeah.
Which is, you don't get 17 years together
Yeah.
and not be there for each
Of
other.
course, yeah.
But every single year,
Yeah.
every single summer, we've been on holiday together.
Oh, wonderful.
A combination of
Yeah.
us, husbands, kids,
Mm.
but every year the two of us have had time
Yeah.
together
You've
away.
made time for each. Oh, just you guys go off.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
sometimes we've
yeah.
had to drag the kids.
But it's not like husbands as well. It's
No,
just you guys.
no,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Most of the time, it was just
Yeah.
us two and a combination
Yeah.
of children.
Yeah.
Depending on who's got who and who's
Yeah.
where. And that started off with all those years ago with us both having no money. And going, can we afford to book a little camping trip? And then
Yeah.
me saying I can't go camping. Because for me, camping, you park the car, you open the wine.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah,
actually, thinking about it, yeah.
And then you
Most
put the
camping
tent
trips
up.
I've been on, booze is
You
like
put the
as
tent
important
up,
as a tent.
piss, don't you? Yeah, like the
Yeah,
tent's
put it
like,
out, going,
like that, and you're like, that do,
Yeah,
that's
get in there.
fine, get in.
Done
you
that Glastonbury a few times.
Yeah, so she said to me, well, let's do it together.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning,
Oh,
really, of a
wonderful.
really wonderful friendship and relationship. That there isn't a celebration that we have
Yeah.
without the other one.
Oh, that's
my
really-
daughter's 21st birthday
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
You build these relationships in recovery, and 90% of the time they're very sad and they don't last. But the ones that do,
They do, yeah.
always focus on the ones that do.
They do, yeah.
You
Well, it's
know.
like any friends in life, isn't it? Some are with you for the long haul, and some are just bit players in your story, aren't
Yeah.
they? But what was it like? I mean, because when you first, I'm thinking about someone who's listening to this, maybe hearing your story. When you first came in
Yeah.
and you hear the God word, did that put you off?
So for me, it
Yeah.
didn't. I totally get where I totally get the God thing. It didn't put me off. I thought everyone was mental.
Yeah,
I thought, I genuinely thought you believed,
yeah,
and that's all it took.
Mm.
In the beginning, that's all it took was me to think, all right, you might be crazy, but I think you believe in what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so I didn't, this is one of the reasons why I didn't think it would work for me, because I didn't think I would ever believe, really, truly believe. But then that's what the book is for, and this 12 steps are about. It's about coming to believe,
isn't it?
in a power greater than yourself. So, and that happened. It happened to me within the first couple of months. I think around about step 3, which is funnily enough where you're meant to find it.
Yeah.
Step 2, 3, and I had a real sort of spiritual awakening around it, where I was going to do my step 3 prayer with my sponsor, and I thought, I feel like such a fraud because I don't believe. I'm telling you that I believe, but I don't believe that there's anything out there. No one's listening to me. But how comes I've got these like 90 days behind me?
Yeah.
So
you could see the results, but
could see the results, but didn't really
but I'm
know.
faking it, and it's like, no, you're not.
It felt like it was being fake.
Yeah.
And then, so what I did was I reread chapter 2 in the big book, which is called We Agnostics, which is where I'd got to in the big book.
And that's a chapter about people who
don't believe.
Who don't believe.
Yeah, 100%. So I reread that before I went to do my what we call a step 3 prayer, which is where you sort of decide that you're going to become accountable to a higher power and rely on a higher power. So I reread the chapter, and it just all seemed to fall into place.
Wow.
I'd read the chapter loads of times
yeah.
before, but this particular time I reread it, and I just started crying.
Wow.
And I had goosebumps, and I was crying.
That's a spiritual experience,
I
right?
just felt
Yeah.
like all the emotions all at once. I felt relief, huge relief, joy, fear, shame, hope.
Gosh.
All at
Wow.
once. And then I literally got in my car. I went to my sponsor's house and I said, "You'll never believe what's happened to me," And she went, "Oh my God, you've had a real spiritual awakening," And it was physical. So I feel like.
Yeah.
The difference between something that you can't touch or hold.
Yeah, when you manifest itself.
It really
Yeah.
It physically affected me. So that was one. But that doesn't happen to everyone. I think I was just.
Were you ready for it?
In me.
Yeah.
For me, for this alcoholic addict, my life had taken me to a place that was just unacceptable
Yeah.
for me to carry on living like that anymore. And I was so desperate. I'm desperately, desperately close to my children. I'm a really good mum. The intention has always been there. I love my children more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
And where it took me to with them became such an unacceptable place.
For yourself.
For myself,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that must be a terrible feeling, because you think, I'm a good person,
Yeah.
but why am I neglecting them?
Yeah,
Or, you
and
know,
I think what I thought
yeah.
before, previous to that experience, what I thought was, I can do this.
Yeah.
I'm a strong
I can
woman.
just stop, right?
Yeah, I'm a strong woman.
Yeah.
No, even in the steps, I remember
Okay.
thinking
Yeah.
to myself, if anyone can do, that,
Yeah.
you get your change around from maybe it
Yeah.
could be me to it will be
Of
me.
course, yeah, yeah.
And I'm going, I'm a strong woman. I don't need a husband. I don't need this, that. And I'm going to get my kids. I'm going to do this. I'm going to show them all.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stand tall, and everyone's going to go, oh, you're great.
You're amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then what I realised was when I went further on in the steps, what I realised was that I didn't need to be a strong woman.
Right.
You
So you don't beat this thing with strength.
definitely no,
You
not
beat it with passive
action.
action.
Throwing
the towel in.
Throwing the towel in, 100%.
So
Submit.
it's not fighting it. It's just saying,
It's the
"I
complete
give up."
opposite. It's just
Yeah.
surrender.
Yeah.
Real massive surrender, and going, I don't know how to do this life.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do what you suggest, which is the higher power. So, and I understand it's really hard to. This is why people are in recovery for years, because we never really understand it. But I call it going with the flow of life.
Yeah.
So I don't go, oh, what shall I do today? Oh, well, you need to do the washing up. You need to pay the bills.
Yeah.
I get up and I might say a prayer just to say,
Yeah.
can you please just direct my thinking? I always say, don't let me miss an opportunity to help someone.
Wow. That's
Today.
really positive.
That's the sort of couple of things that I ask for. And then when I go out my door or answer my phone, I just try and go with the flow.
Yeah.
Try not to cause any conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do the next right thing, and that's what I call God consciousness.
Yeah,
Other people,
I like that. That's
people
good.
like to go and meditate or do. I can't meditate. My ADHD is
Yeah.
like, if I start meditating, I end up worrying.
Oh, right. Fair
So other
play.
people
Yeah.
do that, but for me, it's just about trying to go with the flow.
Yeah.
and not argue.
Not go against the flow.
Yeah.
Just go
Not
with
argue.
what's
Yeah, and
put
it's
in
not
front of you.
Ali's way; it's the world's way.
Yeah, I like
if
that.
you like that. Sometimes it's my way,
Yeah,
Marcus.
yeah.
Sometimes if I want something, I want something.
Yeah.
It's like it tells us not to pray, never to pray for ourselves. It doesn't work, and we can clearly see why. So then, I'm bankrupt, and I get this opportunity to buy this little house, and I'm thinking, I really, really want the house. I can't pray for the house because that's selfish.
Yeah.
So I'm praying, and I'm going, oh, please help me accept your will. And
It
then,
will, like a house.
yeah, and then yeah, exactly. And then I go, amen, and then I go, but I'd love that house.
Well, there you go.
So it's like it's like that. That's how I feel it. It's a light-hearted connection with something that is incredibly important to me, and it's taken about the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
But I have actually now I'm a Christian.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But that's a very long way from being new in the door, and that's 7 years of being in and out of church a little bit. And
do you find that helps you with your recovery, or just as your own personal
I think
well-being?
more as a personal well-being.
Yeah.
I didn't have it in my early years of recovery, but I just thought, again, through the 12 steps, it tells us to seek. And carry on and continue. And so I continued looking, and I went to the Catholic Church for a little while, and I spent sort of a year in and out of that, and then I thought, it's not really for me. I was raised a Catholic.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh no, this is a bit like the punishing Irish Catholic God that, I sort of grew up with.
Like family life, Old
yeah,
family life.
you have to go to church, and
or you're going to
burn in hell, burn 1,000, because you stole a cookie,
Yeah.
whatever the crime might have been. So I didn't fancy that, and then I did some alpha courses.
Oh, yeah.
I did like 6 alpha courses.
Wow, I didn't realise it is 6, yeah.
No, you could do as many as you like.
Oh, I see. So it's the same course.
It's the same course, but I just repeated it
to make sure you didn't miss anything.
every year. Yeah, because I wasn't sure, you know. So that talks much more about Jesus than about higher power.
Yeah.
So, and I still go with higher power because although personally, I call my higher power Jesus now.
Yeah.
But that would put off so many people in recovery that I wouldn't really sort of say that in the
it's
rooms.
It's your own personal
you know.
Jesus. Personal Jesus, Depeche Mode said.
Hey, I
said
love
it
that one.
themselves.
That's a really good one, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's a good track.
Do you know a lot of their songs are about recovery?
Oh, are they?
A lot of them, because David Garn and Martin Gore have been in for 20 plus years.
Oh, I've
and so
got
your
a
own
couple of
personal
their
Jesus.
albums. I'm just trying to think of the name of the album.
And You Should Be Higher is really good. It's about writing.
So I don't want to hear any that's blasphemous rumours.
Yeah,
That's what the
yeah.
album's called, I think.
Yeah, I think back then they were still at it, but yeah, speaking like I know, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Best
I know
mates.
his ex-wife, or I've met her a few times. She told me a bit about their journey. But yeah, sorry, this isn't about Depeche Mode, but I do.
Yeah, but I love Depeche Mode.
I'm going to see the Devout tomorrow at the Amex Stadium.
Oh, that's amazing.
They're like the top kind of Depeche Mode cover band. Even Depeche Mode said, "Don't miss the
really?
Devout." Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
didn't know
So there
that.
you go. Anyway, I won't put this in the podcast because I'm fanboying now. Yeah. So yeah, it's quite. I mean, clearly you're obviously doing the right things. I mean, to get that much time. I know for the newcomers coming in or listening to this, even a month seems like a long time,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it's unattainable, isn't it? It's unrealistic, it's unattainable. I wasn't drawn to people when I was in early recovery that had long term.
You're just like, what do they know about me, about using?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, for a start, I've never had ketamine.
Yeah.
I've never had a Jaeger bomb. I've missed out on mojitos.
My God.
All these things have come around since crystal meth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's all this about?
Yeah,
Maybe sounds really sparkly
Yeah,
and
God.
and it's happened a few times. Like I've been out with my daughters.
Yeah.
They're in their early 30s now, Marcus,
Wow.
my oldest girls, and. They'll be, like, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's a mojito. Oh, it's really nice, Mum. And do you want to try?
No,
And then we'll both go, oh, no, I can't.
God.
And
Yeah.
then they'll make me a virgin mojito and say, well, try this, Mummy, like that. So it's a million miles away from being new. But I just never, ever, ever forget where you came from.
Yeah.
Never. It really is, it's just a day away.
Yeah, yeah. So you even feel that now? You don't feel like my sobriety have recovered and I don't need to worry?
I would never use...
Don't need to pray?
There's a bit of
'Cause I hear
controversy
I hear
about
people say
recovered
that.
and
I always think-
recovering, isn't there?
Yeah.
I would never say recovered, but I wouldn't want to cause controversy over it. You call it what you like to call it.
Yeah.
I call it recovering. You know what? I still go to 4 meetings a week.
Yeah.
I've got some girls that I look after. They look after me as well. I'm accountable to other people. And because that works,
Yeah.
I'd be too scared to risk it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if it works, don't fix
I'd be too scared to risk it, and life happens,
Yeah.
So I think while life's happening to me, if I keep close to all that other stuff,
Yeah.
so last year in July, 2.5 years ago, I lost my dad. And that was like, it was sad. It was my dad. It was sad. But then last year ago in July, my stepdad, my raised me dad, he raised me. He passed away. And I was so grief-stricken. It was painful. And it never occurred to me to take a drink or a drug. But it was so bad. It was physical.
Yeah.
And I actually ended up in hospital with what they call broken heart syndrome. So I had like a 7-hour heart attack.
Shit.
And it can only be brought on by emotional distress.
Yeah, like a severe...
That's So these old people when one
dies and then the other cops
that's
it.
exactly what happens. It's
They say it died of broken
heart.
It's a
And
real thing.
That's a real thing. It's called takotsubo.
Wow.
It's a Japanese word for lobster pot because that's the shape that your heart goes into. And
It's just like it just...
it just collapses. The left-hand side just collapses through grief, sheer grief. So isn't that amazing
God.
that I went through, I was in that much pain,
Yeah.
but it never occurred
Didn't
to
even-
me to think, maybe a drink might help, maybe... Come on,
Yeah,
I'm really suffering here. Maybe a couple
Wow.
of glasses of wine would ease this. It just didn't occur to me. It's just not on the table.
Yeah.
It's off the table.
yeah.
That option.
Wow. God. That's so... that's... And you still wouldn't say you're recovered?
No.
So that's quite telling, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's quite interesting. So even though you're that far away from it, that in the worst grief you suffered, it still wasn't a solution.
And in actual fact,
or an option. Rather.
I was in hospital for a few days afterwards, and I knew that, because it's Worthing Hospital, so it's really local to me, and I knew that they did CA and AA meetings in that hospital. H&I go and do service there.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't there on the right day for the CA meeting. I made one phone call to a friend of mine, and she came and put me in a wheelchair and took me to the AA meeting.
Wow.
So even while I was in hospital, you know, because I was so grateful to be alive,
God,
but I was still knee deep in grief. That didn't just go away.
No.
So
yeah, it's tough when you lose a parent, isn't it?
Really tough. Yeah. I mean, it's 10% more likely to happen to me again. You know, I've got 10 in 100 chance that will happen to me again. It's, you know, should anything else, you know, I've still got a mum.
Yeah, shit.
It's
not something you can pre-tell yourself, don't get too upset this time.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
God, it's terrible.
But, you know, we're learning, aren't we? All the time we're here, we're learning. So what I've learned is, you know, I complain about my mum all the time, like, oh God, she's like, I've got to see mum, and I've got to spend all day Sunday with mum again. And what I've learned is, oh my God, aren't I lucky? I get to spend all day Sunday with my mum again. You know, she's still here.
Yeah.
So it's just like, this is what happened to me when I was in early recovery. My daughters were 13 and 15 and 3.
Yeah.
And my 13-year-old daughter, Megan, bless her heart, she used to say that she'd look after the 3-year-old so I could go out to meetings in the evenings.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times a week, you know, quite a lot.
That's quite a lot.
And I'd be driving back from the meetings and I'd be thinking, oh, I'm so tired, you know, because you do get really tired in early recovery. That's one thing I remember really well, was the exhaustion. And I'd come home and I'd walk in and the house would be upside down. You know, the lounge would be covered in toys.
Been playing. And,
the kitchen would have, you know, fish fingers out, and, you know, and then the bathroom there'd be all sort of, you know, crayons, you know, there's bath crayons. And I'd call my daughter down and I'd go, you can tidy up this mess, you know, like, and I told someone else about it, and in the meetings, and they said to me, what? And I said, well, she made the mess. And they looked at me and they said, she's doing your job.
Yeah.
And it changed everything.
Really?
Of course.
Yeah.
She's doing my job. And not only is she doing my job, she's doing it really well. There's toys out. Yeah. She's been in the kitchen cooking.
She could be sat in front of telly.
She's given her a nice bath. You know, she's... Yeah. So then what I go home with is the thought, when I get home, I'm going to have a 10-minute tidy up, then I'm going to have a nice cup of tea.
Yeah.
And all that resentment... you know, and I say to my daughter, thank you so much for being such a good stand-in mummy tonight.
Yeah. Wow.
So it just takes someone else to look at your stuff sometimes and go...
And call it.
Have you got any idea what you're doing?
Yeah.
So that changed a lot for me,
Wow.
that one little thing. And then...
That's interesting,
You know, the next time I think I was shouting at her, my daughter, Megan... they're all lovely, my children. This one's, you know, she's different. They're all different. They're very different, my kids. And I was shouting at her. And for some reason, this is why I believe in God, because for some reason, my head swapped around and I was her for a minute.
Wow.
And I just imagined being a 13-year-old on the receiving end of me. And it was horrible.
Yeah. God.
And it changed overnight. You know, I just couldn't talk to her that way anymore, or the other two.
Wow.
You know, so, you know, you learn to pick your battles, you know, let some stuff go. And, you know, raising teenagers is hard, but it's really hard when they've got no respect for you and you're in early recovery.
Oh, I can imagine.
My first year in recovery was tough.
Yeah. Did John join you at the same time?
No.
No,
he's got his own. He's got his own story.
But I mean, without talking about John's story, that must be difficult though if you're a couple.
Well, we weren't.
Oh, I see.
We weren't. We were and we weren't.
Okay, sorry.
And it was a bit like that. Okay. And so the time that I did the 12 steps, I was on my own.
Okay.
I got the children back, but John had decided that it wasn't for him at that time. Well, forever. Yeah. But then he changed his mind.
He's a good man.
So when I came into recovery, you know, John kept the kids. He said, go away, I don't want to know. And he said to me, I don't care whether you're drinking, whether you're not drinking, whether you're in recovery, out of recovery, we're done. I don't love you anymore. I've had enough. And I was,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't say fair enough, but it was fair enough. You know, I didn't blame
And you
him.
had 3 daughters.
We had 3 daughters, a
Oh.
business, you know, history, known each other since we were 11 and 12. You know, we're
It's tough,
young
isn't it?
kids, you know,
Yeah.
together. And we'd been together at the time for 16 years. And then, you know, just because of this stuff, one day at a time. And it was so hard at the beginning. I remember it being so hard. Every hour was so hard to get through, clean and sober. I can remember breaking it down into hours and going to bed at 7:30.
Wow, just so
that day was done.
Yeah, I made it.
Yeah,
Crossed the
like
finish
it's
line,
another day.
I'm done. Yeah.
And you know, and it was so hard. And then to think that in September, John and I went to Rome to celebrate 30 years married
Wow.
together.
Yeah.
And what did we do on our anniversary? He dropped me off outside an AA meeting.
Wow.
Of course.
Jeez.
Why wouldn't
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
I say thank you to
Yeah.
the one thing that's given me
That's-
everything back and more?
Would you say it has given it you back? I mean, apart from your sobriety, has it helped you with the relationship? And, you know,
I mean, John and I, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
You know, I've never been more in love. I'm more in love with my husband every
Yeah.
day.
Wow.
That sounds awful from
No,
such
it's
an old
lovely.
person. It's really cringe, isn't it?
no, it's really nice. You two went to school together and you're still together
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
That's,
yeah.
That's
So-
rare as hen's teeth.
Yeah.
Yes,
And,
yeah.
you know, we both love each other like mad. And you know, it's those marriage vows, isn't it? You know, sickness and in health, you know, and all that stuff. And didn't always understand John's reasoning for stuff, but it's not my place to understand his stuff. It's my place to understand my stuff.
Your stuff, isn't it?
And, you
because
know-
you don't have any control over people, places, or things, right?
That's right.
So
yeah.
all you can do is be present.
Yeah, if it was, if everyone did everything my way,
Yeah.
it'd all be all right, wouldn't
Yeah,
it? But
yeah.
I tried to do that, and
Yeah.
it didn't work. So it was that surrender and going, you know. And I have people sometimes say, you know, like my mum might ring me up and say, "Why is Megan not answering the phone?" You know, my daughter, and I'll say, "Mum, I'm not responsible. She's an adult."
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'd say. I'd say, well, you know, I don't know. When I see her, I'll mention it
Yeah,
to
I'll ask her, yeah.
You know, but you know, I'm not responsible for other people. So as much as I can't put them where I want to put them, I'm also not taking the heat for them either.
No. No, exactly. Yeah. Wow. So it's interesting. It's great having you on the show because I've known you a long time, but I don't know all your life story. So I'm finding out for the first time. I didn't know you two have been to school together. That's
We weren't in school together, but we knew
each other.
we were in the same area.
Yeah,
we
or
were.
knew-
Same.
Yeah.
Both grew up in Shoreham, so it wasn't school, but it's same thing.
Yeah. I mean, to
Yeah,
be
same
with
thing.
you know friends from that
Hanging
age.
around.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great. And so do you sponsor people? Do you have?
Yes.
Yeah,
Of course.
Is that a big part of it for you as well?
It's not the biggest part. So, you know, I mean, I don't know how 12-step that your podcast is, but you know, I'm really 12-step.
Yeah, let's talk 12 steps.
So you know, the 12-step says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of doing these steps, it's our job to carry the message to the addict or alcoholic that still suffers.
Yeah.
But then it says, and practice these principles in all our affairs.
is it?
So a lot of people are really focused on that first part, carry the message. I think for me, having such a big, tight family, the real, it's practicing these principles in all of my affairs.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that's more important than that bit. So, you know, there might have been 4 years where I wasn't sponsoring, only because no one asked me.
Yeah.
But it never bothered me.
No.
Because I think God wants me at home. He wants me with my children.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
if God wanted you to sponsor someone who put them in your path.
This is exactly it.
Right.
So, you know, I have got some girls now that I look after. And, you know, the other night, one of the girls texted me and she said, you know, everything's going wrong for me, you know, having a really tough time. And she's, you know, I'm going to explode.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll come over. What time are you home?
Yeah.
And she said, I know you've got loads going on, and I have got loads going on. And I was absolutely exhausted. It was the last thing I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I went and I sat with her for about half an hour. We both cried. And then for about an hour, we both laughed.
Oh, wonderful.
And I came out and I knew
before
I went, even though I didn't want to go, that it was going to be wonderful and really good for me.
Yeah.
So, you know, and
Yeah.
you leave with the feeling of, well, she's feeling better. And guess what? I'm feeling better.
It's funny how that
as
works,
well.
isn't it? When you help someone out of the kindness of your heart, to lift them up. It gives you a tremendous, wonderful feeling, doesn't it?
You do have a sense of obligation as well. It's not really out of the kindness of your heart, because if it was the kindness out of my heart, I'd go, I really need a nap.
Oh, actually, that's true. Yeah, no, talking about in
So
sponsorship terms,
it's
yes.
more sort of obligation, and then, but as soon as you do it, that you'll. So I've just been up to do some H&I before I came here, hospitals and institutions.
Was that at Brighton?
I'm allowed to say Millview?
Yeah. Oh, you can say whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's up at Millview, and I find that really hard service.
Yeah.
Really, really hard, because you're going into a mental institution and you're talking to people who are really very, very mentally unwell.
Yeah.
And then they've also got the addiction side of things as well. And they're right in the middle of both of it. And you're just trying to leave. All you want to leave with is to remember that little tiny glimmer of hope that I told you about.
Give them some hope.
That's it. And that would be what I'd like, from this.
Yeah.
Is just for someone in it, thinking that there's no escape, to go, do you know what? Maybe if she can do it, maybe if he can do it.
Yeah.
It's just possible that I could do it.
Yeah.
And the truth is that you can. Anyone can.
But you have to have the desire to...
No, I don't think you do.
No?
See, I don't think you do, because I didn't have a desire to stop. My desire was to get my kids back.
Right, okay. That's interesting.
But to get my kids back, I had to stop.
Right, so there was a motivation there.
There was a motivation, but I certainly wasn't going to stop forever.
Yeah. Oh,
even though it was black and it was bad and it was, it was one day at a time. And that was how they said to me, just do tomorrow. Yeah. And I 100% was going to drink after 6 months.
So you kind of almost had to deceive yourself that we'll do this for a bit.
I really believed that I was going to be okay after 6 months. And then, of course, the promises of the steps come true, and they tell us that, we will recoil as from a hot flame without any effort on our part. And that's what happened.
Yeah, wow.
Someone puts a drink in front of you and you go, actually, I don't fancy it now, I'm 6 months.
Yeah, it's not worth it, yeah. Wow.
You just lose the obsession, and and everything it says in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's come true for me, and millions of other people around the world have achieved sobriety.
So many people, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's in untold different languages, and
Do you go to different fellowships as well, or are you purely CA?
I'm a CA baby.
Yeah.
But of course, I'll go to AA.
Yeah.
I'll go to NA. I don't care. There is recovery in all the fellowships.
Yeah.
I would never say to someone, don't do this or don't do that. Do what you feel is right for you. In AA, there's still a few little AA meetings where they don't like to talk about drugs.
Yeah. I've had a few people say that.
Yeah.
They felt kind of alienated.
So that would... Well, you might get a comment. You might share, and someone might say, if it's okay, we're going to bring it back to alcohol. And then I think to myself, well, I'm not coming here again.
Wow.
So, but I understand
they
why
think alcohol isn't a drug.
I think that the reason why they do it is because I think probably on a balance, more people than not have had issues with drugs that go to AA.
Yeah.
But for the people that haven't had issues with drugs, if they go into an AA meeting and someone's talking about taking heroin every day, they're going to go, actually, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm leaving.
Oh, that's true. I never thought of it that way.
So
it's not that they dislike or disapprove of people using drugs. It's to protect the newcomers.
It's to protect the alcoholic whose problem is just drink.
I've never heard that.
And to go. Otherwise,
makes a lot of sense.
Otherwise, if I'm drinking a bottle of vodka every night and I go along and I hear my story, I'm going to go, I'm not that bad.
Yeah, I'm not taking coke.
Yeah, I haven't lost my kids. I'm still functioning. Or I'm only drinking. While I'm bank manager out of my drawer. At lunchtimes or whatever. But it's so that people don't feel alienated. It's not to be exclusive. It's to be inclusive.
I had a boss that used to do that. He had a little
nip.
lunchtime. Yeah, but it was only a flask.
Hip flask.
But. Yeah, you could smell it on his breath. I think he was like, no one knows I've had a drink. I was like, really? I can smell it from here.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, isn't it? How many different fellowships they are, all from that book. There's loads. And,
there's Gamblers Anonymous now. We've got in Brighton, we've got Crystal Meth.
Oh, really?
Anonymous now.
Wow.
the same Marijuana Anonymous.
yeah.
I'm not sure if that one's still going, but
Huh.
yeah. Then there's
Yeah.
SLA, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous.
Gosh.
Then you've got the spin-offs. Of course, you've got Al-Anon, Alateen, Co-Anon.
Gosh, wow.
You've got Codependence
Yeah.
Anonymous. There's just like.
And they all use the book, do they?
Do you know? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I know that Alateen and Al-Anon do.
yeah.
I think Co-Anon does as well, which is the Cocaine Anonymous family and friends.
Okay, wow.
So yeah, there's meetings in Hove for Co-Anon.
Yeah.
But GA and SLA and that, I wouldn't really know. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know
don't
those
know, yeah.
ones.
Wow, what a great chat, Alison. It's really great. Really, really glad you came on the show and had a chat. We end the show, I kind of come round and give you a hug. Is that all right?
Are you joking?
Well, no,
yeah,
we
of
could
course.
carry on
I'd
if you want.
love to have a hug.
No, is that okay?
Thanks,
Thank you.
Marcus.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, darling.
Chris will get a little snap of us.
You're coming right round.
No, yeah, I'll step over there. There we go. Thank you. Oh, yeah. We'll just hold this.